And back here in the States, there is no end in sight for the government shutdown as lawmakers remain deadlocked. Last night, the Senate failed to advance a bill to reopen the government for the 8th time. Democrats want extended health care subsidies. Meanwhile, Republicans are standing firm. Here's House Speaker Mike Johnson blaming Democrats for all of this. Listen.
You have two parties on a split screen right now. You have President Trump and the Republican Party reducing your taxes, cutting government red tape and regulations to get the economy going again, passing historic legislation to boost the economy and bring down the cost of living. You have Republicans who have ended the border crisis, almost zero illegal crossings in the last 4 months. You have Republicans who are working to end the crime crisis and support law enforcement and ICE officers and all those who are wearing that badge and putting their lives on the line and supporting our troops, as we've talked about today. You have Republicans who are ending fraud, waste, and abuse in government and making government work more efficiently and effectively for the people. And you have President Trump and the White House and his administration ending conflicts that are killing millions of people around the world. What have Democrats accomplished in the last 9 months? A government shutdown.
Now let's go live to the nation's capital and CBS News congressional correspondent Nikole Killion. Nikole, thanks for your time today. What can we expect from today's vote?
Well, more than likely, it will be more of the same as we have this Groundhog Day-like scenario here on Capitol Hill. But Leader Thune told reporters this morning that there have been some discussions and continue to be discussions with Democrats on a potential off-ramp. In fact, one thing that the leader is considering is perhaps maybe moving forward with some appropriations bills. These are the actual bills that fund the government. They have made some progress, for instance, on a defense package, so the leader would like to move that and potentially some other appropriations bills. Obviously, that may not be enough to fully end the shutdown, but it could be a glimmer of hope, a sign of some progress, if you will. So those are some of the discussions that are underway quietly, but publicly, you know, the leaders continue to stand firm on both sides, with Republican leaders continuing to call on Democrats to back this temporary funding bill that already passed the House that would fund the government through mid-November, whereas Democrats say they still would like to see Republicans come to the table on a leadership level, at a presidential level, to try to address this issue of health care, which they say will impact millions of Americans should these premium subsidies expire at the end of the year.
And Nikole, while we have you here, I have to ask about this because we're seeing a number of people throw their hats in the ring to launch Senate campaigns. What can you tell us about some of these races?
Well, we did see this morning Congressman Seth Moulton announce his bid for U.S. Senate in Massachusetts. What's interesting about this, of course, is that Massachusetts is a blue state, and so he is challenging the incumbent Ed Markey, who has been in Congress here for many years, who is on the verge of turning 80, and this could potentially be a referendum with this, with respect to this issue of age within the Democratic Party. Of course, we saw a lot of debate around that during the presidential election involving President Biden with Congressman Moulton, one of those calling for generational change, and that is one of the reasons he says that he is now running for this Senate seat in Massachusetts, because while he said he respects Senator Markey and feels that he has done a solid job, at the same time he feels that it is time for new leadership in Massachusetts, which is why he's running. And we're seeing a similar dynamic play out in Maine as well, with the entry of Janet Mills, the governor of the state there, who is in her second term, very popular in the state, favorite of leader Chuck Schumer, but she's 77, and so you have a younger entrant into that race. A couple of months ago, Graham Plattner, who's an oyster farmer there, in his 40s. So again, this issue of age continues to play out within the Democratic Party in terms of the type of leadership they want going forward, but it also could make for a very contested Democratic primary in both of these two states.
Oh yeah, definitely. Nikole Killion on Capitol Hill for us today. Thank you so much.